What's going on, everyone? So this upcoming Scream 7, based on the rumors that are coming out for the direction in which this Scream is going, I'm actually kind of excited for. I actually think that this has a lot of potential to be one of the better Scream films if it kind of goes in the direction in which it's going. But I also want to kind of have just like a general conversation and discussion with you all. And of course, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you guys want to see in this upcoming Scream 7? Um, from a Ghostface standpoint, I really did like what they did in Scream 5 and 6 in regards to kind of the tone and the dark approach of Ghostface. Hey, look at the previous films. Ghostface, yeah, there were some dark moments, Scream 4 in particular, but a lot of it was kind of goofy, right? Ghostface was really clumsy. It was just kind of like, the high school version, I guess, so to speak, where you saw in Scream 5 or 6, I liked just the brutality of Ghostface. I liked that Ghostface didn't mess around. Ghostface just got to the point, right? It was a lot of sneak attacks, a lot of how a killer would actually approach, right? You're not going to be playing with their food too much and run the risk of somebody getting and escaping or them getting caught or anything like that. They're going to kind of get in and get out, do what they need to do, move on and be done. Want them to kind of continue that approach. I like that version of Ghostface more than I like the version of like the clumsy Goofy, right? Now, obviously there's, you still want to have some comedic underlining and you want to have some fun with it, but I don't want it to be too silly. I personally just really enjoyed the darkness that Ghostface provided. Obviously with Ghostface 2, you want, a good story, you want good execution, you want good motive, right? I'd want some level of creativity with the motive, right? Now, supposedly, Ghostface, they're not supposed to be using the stab stuff. They're not, like, the motive is just essentially that they hate Sidney, and that's why they're targeting her. And I'm sure that it'll be expanded more. I'm sure that there will be more to Ghostface than just, like, we don't like Sidney Prescott, we want her dead. I'm sure that there will be kind of reasoning to it, but I just don't want the same old, like, we want to remake the movies or, it's good old-fashioned revenge or any of these things, right? I'm not saying it has to be this super over-the-top complexity, right? I also don't want, like, a Scream 3 standpoint where it's like, the long-lost brother, cousin, nephew, uncle is here to kill Sidney. No, I want them, kind of fleshed out. Simplicity sells, right? And sometimes the simple answer is the correct answer. So, keep it flush, keep it to the point, keep it engaged, tell a good story with Ghostface and good execution, and I think that this could go a long way. I also, again, I am somebody that does want Scream to move off of Sidney at some point. I'm okay with Sidney coming back for this film, given the circumstances, right? I understand, hey, things kind of went down fast. Sidney's the safest bet. Okay, let's do it. But to me, you got to tell a good story in Sidney Prescott. We can't have this just like jumbled mess or, just rehashing of the same old or just her kind of being relegated to a background character. I like the rumors that are coming out. Again, they're rumors, so we don't know for certain. But I do like the idea of like, hey, here's Sidney Prescott. Here's her family. Ghostface is coming after her and her family. Now Sidney is in a position that she has never been in before, in which she is not just responsible for herself, but she's responsible for her husband, her children. She needs to keep herself alive, but also keep them alive. And it just gives another layer that I really think could be for a fun film. You got this family that is being targeted by Ghostface, right? Like, Scream has kind of always followed the same script in a lot of ways, which is fine, right? Like, I love me a good old-fashioned slasher, right? But it would be fun to kind of have these different, like, creative stories. And I think that this is something that could really kind of be a setup and be a proper approach to give us just a different look and give us some insight into Sidney and her life and, what's it like being Sidney Prescott, the mother? What's it like for her children? Are her children being picked on and bullied? Are her children, are they, tough and fighters? Or are they kind of the bullies because, they got to stick up for their mom? Like, it's just, there's so many different directions, so many different layers that you could peel back for this upcoming Scream film that I think could go a long way and just tell a really fun, exciting story. But again, you got to have good execution with Sidney Prescott. Right? We need to have her like Scream 5. I just felt like they did a horrible job with her. Like she didn't serve any purpose in the movie other than just to have Sidney Prescott in the film. Right? Like she had that cool scene where she's, shooting through the doors and saying I'm bored. But outside of that, like what did she do? Like everything she did in the movie, somebody else could have done. Right? It wasn't just like a Sidney pertain thing. Right? Even the tracker, she said, it's Gail Weathers' thing, right? Gail could have done that. Her being the hero that kind of comes in and like Mindy could have done that. We knew she was alive behind the couch. Like she could have sprung up and saved the day. Right? So if you're going to do this and you're going to tell a story with Sidney, you got to be able to tell a story with Sidney. Now, with Kevin Williamson back at the helm and in the fold, I do have a little bit more confidence because, these are his characters. This is his baby. He understands them where, I think part of it was the previous regime. It's not their character, right? They don't really understand. Like, and to further prove this point is like, look at Dewey and Gale in Scream 5. And I'm not talking about Dewey's death. I'm talking about like the portrayal and the way it was written. They basically reversed Gale and Dewey, right? Like Dewey was the one that was the coward and left. Dewey was the one that was the broken man. Dewey was when it should have, like, you could have done Dewey the broken man, but if you watch and pay attention throughout the course of these films, it's always been Gale. Gale's always the one that's left. Scream 3, for example, right? Where Gale talks about, her leaving. And she's like, they're having that conversation at whatever it was, the coffee house or the little diner or whatever. And she's just like, 60 minutes too. And he's like, what's wrong with being Gale Weathers? She's like, like days felt like years in Woodsboro. And then you saw in Scream 4, her having the writer's block. And she's frustrated and she's trying to like adapt to the small town life and being a housewife. And it's just not her. Like you could have easily had her leave and escape to New York. And Dewey, he's a broken man. He lost Gale, and now Dewey, he loses his job as the sheriff because he's mourning over Gale leaving him, and it's just this like you could have easily told a different story, right? So can they tell a convincing story with Sidney? That's a real question. But also you're seeing all these just rumors going around with like Kerry Russell and Judy Greer and stuff. I love the idea. Excellent actresses come in. There's talks about, people have their speculation on what roles each of them will play. They could be right, could be wrong. We don't know for certain. But supposedly, Judy Greer is supposed to be playing like a Karen type character, which is funny because she was Karen in Halloween. But she's supposed to be like that Karen neighbor that's just like pain in the butt for Sidney and doesn't like Sidney. Then you have Kerry Russell, who she's rumored to be playing Sidney's best friend. And so regardless, like I like the direct, like if assuming that these casting hires are true, like, and then you throw in Mark Kincaid, like I like how this is shaping up from an actor and actress standpoint. I like that this is becoming more adult, right? This isn't a bunch of high school kids. Now I'm sure that there will be younger, just actors and actresses in this film. Obviously Sidney's kids, but I'm talking about beyond that. But I like the idea of like, let's get back to, some adulthood in here, right? I'm not saying you have to make it like full-fledged, like grown-up version, weird thing, but no, like, you have Sidney who now she's grown, right? She's not gonna be hanging out with a bunch of high school kids. She's gonna be hanging out with a bunch of grown adults and other parents and stuff like that. Like, let's make this, housewives type thing where Ghostface is just running through everybody and taking them out, right? And like, what if it is Kerry Wilson or Kerry Russell's kids, right? Like, what if it's her kids are now Ghostface? Now Sidney's like, man, like, I've been here since you were born. Like, I've seen you. Like, why are you doing this type thing? Like, there's a lot that you can do that could be a lot of fun and just creatives for like these actors and actresses that they introduce and put into the fold. So again, I really do like kind of the direction in which they're going with this, but ultimately at the end of the day, good story, good execution, good delivery, all these things are very important, right? You gotta you don't want to make this too convoluted. I don't want to see another typical rehash, right? Like let's start doing some creative ideas, which is why I like the idea of Sidney as a parent trying to survive and protect her children and her family, right? Because it's different. It's a different story. It just shows that there are ways to be creative in Scream, right? At the end of the day, like we need Ghostface, we need a good reveal, a couple killers, right? Good kills, but the story itself and how it unfolds, there's so many different possibilities and rabbit holes and all kinds of stuff that you can go down and do and create, right? Like we don't have to constantly follow the cookie cutter slasher, right? Like let's do some stuff. Like great example is that show Slasher. However you feel about the show, whether you love it or not, I love that, there were different, each one was different, right? It was a different story with different group of characters that, were in different situations. And, you had the typical slasher, then you had the cabin version, you had all these different versions. Like you could do that with Scream. And instead of having a different killers, like it's just Ghostface and it's always somebody different under the mask. Like the beauty of Scream is you never have to reboot it. You never have to, restart. It's always a different person, right? So it's not a Michael, it's not a Jason, it's not a Freddy to where it's like, okay, well, we can't just bring them back. Like, yeah, we can bring them back this way, but like, it's like, no, it's always a different person. You could just keep going till the sun sets, right? Like, might as well. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you agree with my points? Disagree with my points? Do you have other points that you'd like to add? Is there particular things that you'd like to see? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.